What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to Philly with John Marks. If you're watching live, you made it Thursday morning. Good morning to everybody out there watching live on YouTube as we build a community of listeners, viewers, etc. Live on YouTube every morning at 8 o'clock. And, of course, you can always watch whatever on YouTube. Just subscribe to PHLY. Bam! You can watch on demand Philly with John Marks, all of our great shows available on podcast version, audio only, wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube and you're like, you know what, I like the show, but I'm not around, I'm not able to watch every day. Man, you're always in your car doing something. So get the audio only version wherever you get your podcast. Programming note, and then we're going to get into it, so we have so much to talk about today. Next Wednesday, June 18th. We have the PHLY Streamathon. That's right. We're going live for 12 straight hours, presented by our friends at TrueMark Financial. Wall to wall, all of our favorite PHLY talent mixed together. Special guests, behind-the-scenes surprises, and maybe some friendly competition between the show. So hit that subscribe button. But remember, next Wednesday, PHLY Streamathon, so subscribe now, but I think I'm just doing the 1 hour because I already have stuff going on that day, but we're going to have, it won't just be me and Tyler, it will be some other people as well. So that's coming up next Wednesday. Over the course of the 12 hours, everybody's going to pretty much be on the air the entire time or during different waves of the 12-hour show. All right, so that's that. Let's do this because the Sixers now, as the draft is really right around the corner, there's some steam picking up for what they're going to do with 3, and it's kind of against the grain. Keith Pompey of the Inquirer is going to join us in about 20, 25 minutes or so, and we'll talk about this coming up in about 10 minutes. So we got yours covered with the 76ers. Phillies in 1 second. I had to start with this because I'm watching the finals last night, and everybody, damn it, I wish I would have just bet this like a fool. I'm on the BetParx app, and I'm saying, like, I don't know. Indiana's just like, that's a really, really good value. I brought up the Pistons against the Lakers where nobody thought the Pistons could beat the Lakers, and they actually came out, and they were clearly the better team in that series. And I get the same feeling with the Pacers. So last night is the series because no one really still gives them a shot, and they were 5.5-point road underdogs at home. And all the Pacers keep on doing is just beating the teams that they face. And they did it with the Knicks. They did it last night against OKC. Where were you when TJ McConnell became the first player off the bench in NBA Finals, I think since the 70s, with 10 points, 5 assists, and 5 steals, as he did last night? In particular, early second quarter where the Thunder were up and I think they were up maybe like 8 points, and McConnell is in there. And anytime you're bringing a guy off the bench like TJ McConnell, he is your guy that gives you energy, and he helps you make a little bit of a surge. You leave him out there for 35 minutes, that's not the type of player he is. But during that period, in the beginning of the second quarter, it was like TJ McConnell with offensive rebound, all in one motion, throwing the ball, setting up other guys, hitting shots. Benedict Mathurin, 27 points, leads the Pacers. Haliburton, 22, Siakam, 21. This well-rounded team that is well-built and lacks the star power. And Haliburton's is a star. I'm not going to do the first take conversation where they're arguing for weeks about whether he's a superstar or not. I don't care if he's a superstar. They're 2 wins away from winning an NBA championship. And I wonder what Daryl Morey is thinking when he's watching that game last night. TJ McConnell, he signed a contract with the Pacers. Sure, I would have liked to see the Sixers re-sign him. Like, maybe they shouldn't have let him leave. Maybe guys like that are important. Right? Look at him in the finals last night. He was plus 13 in the first half. Plus 13, plus 15. No, he's a plus 13 in the first half, TJ McConnell. So, like, well-played game. The Thunder came back, took the lead. Fourth quarter, they had the lead. The Pacers go on a run. Pacers went on a run in the second quarter and the fourth quarter. The Thunder were closing out quarters. So, like, these are 2 really good teams, evenly matched teams. I would say, even though are people now going to say, you know what, the Pacers can win this series? The Pacers can win this series. It was plus 10,100 for Haliburton and the MVP and the Pacers winning. For a $100 bet, you could have won $10,000, over $10,000 if the Pacers end up winning and Tyrese Haliburton is the MVP. Siakam, FitDad had said Siakam and the Pacers. That was even bigger. Siakam's been great. So Pacers on their way. I thought that was a very entertaining game last night. I don't care if anybody's watching or not. It doesn't matter to me if it's the lowest rated finals in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I'm enjoying it. So the Pacers get a win last night. And now let's and we're going to talk Sixers in a second. So don't go anywhere. But Pacers winning. Maybe Daryl Morey's watching last night saying, hey, I don't need these older stars. I can win with younger players, right? All right, so Phillies win. Day game yesterday. They get the win. Jesus Luzardo gets off the schneid and pitched very well. Got lots of swings and misses. Not a lot of hard contact from Chicago. Schwarber. We kind of called it on the show yesterday, where they had a young pitcher. The Cubs had a young pitcher early in the game. Can Schwarber set him up to get essentially a 95-mile-an-hour batting practice pitch over the middle of the plate? He did. He didn't miss. Phillies with a nice win yesterday. Really, really good win. Happy to see it. They win the series. Win 2 or 3 over a really good Cubs team with a really powerful offense. And they win games 2 and games 3. Again, when this team wins, it's because they can hit a couple of home runs and their starting pitching is very good. That fit the bill yesterday. Luzardo, 10 strikeouts, no walks, 6 innings, and they got him out of there. And at that point, they had a little bit of a lead and the bullpen was able to hold it. They win 7-2. Bohm is now hitting 283. He hit a home run yesterday. Why is it so hard for me? Because I can put something out there because I put it out on YouTube, but I had said when Bohm was struggling earlier in the season, I'm like, I'm not worried about Bohm. I think he's going to be the player that he was. And he really right now is the player that he's been for the Phillies. He yesterday was productive. He's been he's getting RBIs at 4 RBIs last night, had the home run kind of as some insurance a little bit later. But yet it's difficult for me to enjoy. Maybe I can get off of that because he did play very well yesterday. They're going to get him back at third base. Otto Kemp's going to be your first baseman. Bohm's, I don't need him playing first base. It seems like Kemp's going to be able to handle first base. But Bohm was good yesterday. Really happy with the win. Day off today. Series starts tomorrow against the Blue Jays down at Citizens Bank Park. So there you go. Tyler Zulik, PHLY Phillies. I got to bring you in on this because you were doing it was a pregame / watch along early.
It was in the game. A little different. It was a weird start time yesterday, so we kind of had to adjust the schedule a little bit. So to your point on Bohm, I think what a lot of people I've seen on social media, people I've talked to, because I feel like I'm now all of a sudden in the Alec Bohm defense class, which I didn't think I would be. Not to say that I was in the argument the other way side, but now I feel like I'm almost coming to his defense at this point. I think for a lot of people, the reason is because his OPS is 716. He's 6'5". He fits the build profile of a guy who should hit 20 or 25 home runs, still driving on, 85 to 100 and hit 280. So I think a lot of people look at him and go, you're 6'5", you play a power position. Why do you have 5 home runs? Why is your OPS 698 coming into yesterday? It's 716 now with the home run. Like, why is your OPS so low? Why is your slug so low? And I think for a lot of people, that's the holdup for Alec Bohm, because I use the term, like you used the phrase, I forget if it was you or BG the other day, used the phrase, he's driving 60 in the right-hand lane. And right. And I said in the most endearing way possible, yeah, but he's a Honda Civic, because he is a guy who, more times than not, I know what I'm getting from him. And consistency in this lineup is certainly crucial. He's a guy who's going to hit 270 to 290 in that range, closer probably to the 280 range. If he gets to 20 home runs, that's a win. For me, it's about his gaps power. If you say what's missing right now, it's his gaps power. He was a 40 double guy last year. He's not going to be a 40-double guy this year, which is unfortunate, and I think it played in part because of the slow start. But if he's going to drive in 85 or 90, I understand he's not your prototypical, 2 through 5 hitter, but there's productivity there. And so I think that if you're asking why are you still struggling to find enjoyment in good Alec Bohm games, it's probably because of the player build versus the player profile.
No, you're right. I want upside of a top 5 pick.
Sure.
And I don't want Pedro Feliz type numbers. And he's better than that. Don't get me wrong. But if this guy was a lower round pick, we don't have the same expectations that we have for Bohm. Here's another thing. And by the way, the availability is important too. Isn't he always available? He's
sure, yeah.
He's not injury plagued. He doesn't have problems with injuries and staying healthy and things like that. But it's the body language. When things are bad with him, they're bad. And this just isn't fans reacting. He got benched in the playoffs, right? Like, clearly this is something that's been reported that the Phillies are unhappy kind of with the immaturity. And maybe he's taking some strides like that this year. I don't think he's a bad kid or a bad teammate. But I mean, honestly, the productivity's there. If the other guys are stepping up and he's giving you this productivity, that's fine. I mean, you need players on the team that are 280, 85 home runs, 15 or 85 home runs, 85 RBIs, 15 home runs. He can be that guy, but it's just
85 home runs. Nobody's going to be complaining.
Yeah, I would say sign him long term if he's getting 85 home runs. But so that's the thing with Bohm. Real fast on Luzardo. I had seen this. I saw our own Jim Salisbury wrote about this as well. But Jesus Luzardo tipping pitches could have been part of his problem. Yep. And there was a graphic that was put out there, and it's like, here's what Luzardo was doing with a runner on second base before, here's what he's doing now. And people don't realize if there's a lot of film study that goes, and if someone catches something, it's very easy for a runner at second base to discreetly let the batter know if a changeup is coming. And if you know a changeup is coming or you know a fastball is coming, as we know with the trash can banging Houston Astros, that's a good thing to know, right? And you can sit on a changeup, especially if you're a right-handed hitter against a left-handed starter. So the thought is he was tipping some pitches. I know you were discussing this and you had some stuff out there as well.
I mean, you're right. It is literally as simple as taking your lead and it's like, okay, fastball, changeup, slider, tap the leg. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
It's literally that discreet, and every team does it. Like, this isn't cheating. This isn't an unfair advantage. Literally every team has people in their organization whose video department scouting job is to watch for these things and to watch nuances over thousands of pitches. It's probably an ungodly boring job, but you get that eureka moment where it's like, I found one. It's like you got the golden ticket in Willy Wonka. And it was very clear that right, because like the pitching ninja did one, and you could see like he was separating the changeup just a little bit. The glove was popping just a little, or the hand was popping just a little bit out of the glove. Makes all the difference in the world. There's too many people on a paid staff to have that get by.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. And look at it. He looked great yesterday. He really did.
Awesome.
It was kind of like the deep breath, like, thank God. They need him, man. If this team is going to do anything in the playoffs, they need him. So it was awesome yesterday. All right, this portion of the program brought to you by GLAT Hair Restoration, GLATHairMM.com, 610-980-4000. You can text them. Text them a picture of your hair. Say, Johnny Marks said, text me. He said to text you. Here's what my hair looks like. What can you help me with? 610-980-4000. Story started circulating yesterday, and really, this has been something that has I mean, I'll say for the last week or two, where the feel for me is the 76ers are not taking Ace Bailey at 3. I don't believe this is a smoke screen to try to get a trade back, and then you can get your player, because everything else that I'm reading is that a player that the Sixers may like, if you try to trade back, you're not going to be able to trade back because teams want him as well. But Jake Fisher is he Bleacher Report still? Jake's a local guy, normally with very, very good information, reporting that the Sixers in on VJ Edgecombe, the guard from Baylor. because so everybody the Sixers have the 3rd overall pick. Everybody says Ace Bailey is the player. He's the high upside guy. There's some people out there saying he's the best player in the draft. He certainly has perhaps the highest ceiling, or one of the highest ceilings, higher ceiling of the players that perhaps anywhere from 3 on, right? The draft starts with the Sixers at 3. And Jake Fisher reporting that the Sixers in on Edgecombe, that they had dinner with him last week, that Tyrese Maxey flew in specifically to have dinner, to be a part of the group that had dinner with him. Now, doesn't mean that they've already made the decision and they're going to draft him. Apparently, Bailey is also going to meet with the Sixers, and he hasn't met with the Sixers just yet, but certainly it makes a lot of sense. So here was my process after I found out the Sixers had the 3rd overall pick. That I don't watch a lot of college basketball. So while I may have heard a lot of these players, I can't give an honest opinion or evaluation. So what do you start doing? Like everybody else, you go to YouTube, you read all the articles, you find out more about the player. And I remember watching Edgecombe. He has a YouTube highlight reel of like 20 minutes, and it's not just all dunks from this past season. I mean, he's a freshman. And man, this dude he can really do it all. And he from dunks, he's dunking over guys, setting guys up, assists. And here's the thing that caught my eye early on when I was just reading about him. Because if you go to a YouTube highlight reel of any of these guys, you're going to see their athleticism. You see it with Ace Bailey. You see it with all the guys for sure. There was constant talk in everything that I read about Edgecombe being a gym rat and a guy that is just relentless as far as work ethic and becoming a better player. And he lives and breathes, and basketball is all that he wants and all that he does. And you need guys, culture setters, because the reality is if you're drafting somebody top 3, they're almost not assured that they're going to get a contract extension. They're going to get max money. But if they're showing potential and they're that player, it's a huge loss if you're not giving them a contract extension, right? You're drafting him so you can pay him $200 million on his first contract extension and hopefully more after that. Your hope is by drafting him 3rd overall that you're writing him a $500 million check before it's all said and done. And if you're going to do that, man, teams miss on players all the time. They just do. The NBA, it's like high risk, high reward with a lot of these players. And Ace Bailey, to me, feels like the highest risk and highest reward from what everybody is saying about him. Certainly not a finished and a polished product. I would say Edgecombe is much more of a sure thing. And if you're talking about a guy that is relentless in becoming a better basketball player, and he has that mentality, isn't that the kind of guy that you want on a team if you're trying to build a championship team? As opposed to a guy like Ace Bailey, and when you hear him talk, he's like, I practice the bad shots. So yeah, I take bad shots, but I practice bad shots, right? Like, I'm not sure he gets it. The second pick in the draft, the presumptive second pick in the draft, and then one of the top talents in the draft, and Rutgers didn't make the tournament, right? There's got to be a reason for that. Now, you could also miss out and miss the best player in the draft. It doesn't surprise me that the Sixers would be in on a guy like Edgecombe. If you watch the Pacers and you watch the way that both teams play last night, up and down, up and down, up and down, athleticism. And that's Edgecombe. When you watch his highlights, when you watch him on a game-to-game basis, and I studied him for probably 20 minutes on YouTube, up and down the floor, great in transition, great at dishing off in transition, finishing at the basket. This dude's playing like he's a 6'8", 6'9" guy above the rim when he finishes. So to me, and I know a lot of people are going to bitch that they don't take Ace Bailey. Probably a lot of people that really didn't watch him for a second in college, because I know I really didn't. But if there's one thing I do have trust in Daryl Morey, and I think Daryl Morey has failed as a 76er director of president of basketball operations, doesn't mean that he's not still a good basketball mind and not a good GM. It's just what he's done so far, he's failed. And I don't know who could have succeeded with Joel Embiid having these injuries and things like that. But I do have confidence that he can navigate this process and draft the right player. I don't think he's going to be able to trade back because there is other interest. And maybe some of this is media smokescreen. You put information out there to try to get teams off the scent. But to me, I think this happens. And let me see. Keith Pompey is going to join us in about 5 minutes here. Let me see. Did you email the link? I did. Hopefully he got that link. Keith Pompey is going to talk about all this. His feel for it. Because he's done some great reporting as well. And the feel that I believe Keith is going to tell us coming up here in 5 minutes is, I don't think that the 76ers are drafting Ace Bailey at 3. Which is, you know what? This is going to be a very interesting run to the draft here. The draft starts at 3 with the 76ers. This is going to be awesome. All right, let's do this here because I have to send him the link and I have to do this live on the air. Tyler, real fast. Again, what do you think what's going on here with the Sixers? And a lot of times you get stuff put out there because you're trying to create a market and maybe more like somebody thinks he can get an extra first-round draft pick or whatever. What's your feel for the situation?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of validity to the Sixers being interested in VJ Edgecombe. And to say that he's not the next best player available, in terms of what? Like, in terms of floor, I think that Edgecombe's floor is higher than Ace Bailey's floor. I think that Ace Bailey has a wide range of outcomes that could possibly hit, but this is something that we talked about the other day. Ace Bailey's ceiling, I think, is higher. And you find yourself in an interesting position. Now, we expect the Sixers, I think you and I both expect the Sixers to have a difficult season ahead and a difficult decision in terms of rebuild, right? In terms of what's the next step with or without Joel Embiid. I think if you are in a spot where you think that you have the opportunity to draft a high upside guy in this particular setting, thinking also that you could be a postseason team next year, because I think the Sixers do believe when healthy, they could be a postseason team. Are you going to have the opportunity to pick at 3 again in the next couple of seasons? And if you believe the answer is no to that question, I think you take the big swing. And with that being said, I think the big swing would be Ace Bailey in that situation. And I don't mean big swing like it's a crazy off the beaten path selection. If the Sixers take Ace Bailey at 3, nobody's going to bat an eye, with the exception of maybe Derek and Kyle, who seem to be very low on Ace Bailey compared.
Right. So he sucks, and then everybody's going to say Daryl Morey's the worst. Why would you draft that guy?
But this is what I said the other day: if you draft Edgecombe and Ace Bailey goes 4 or 5, goes to Charlotte or goes to Utah at, what are they, at 6 or 7 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you draft Edgecombe or Trey Johnson or whomever, and Ace Bailey ends up being a star, my annoyance would be greater than if you took Ace Bailey and Edgecombe ends up being a good player. Because I think in this particular setting, with the ability to say, hey, we did not expect to be picking at 3. Some of us didn't expect to have a pick, period.
Right. Yeah. You were unsure. Yep.
You take the upside shot in this capacity, especially considering too, like, they have 3 guards that they feel comfortable with. Bailey can be a little bit more flexible in that setting. I think they should take Bailey. I understand why people like Edgecombe, but if I were making the call, I would take Ace Bailey.
All right. Keith Pompey, Philadelphia Inquirer, coming up next. We'll discuss it all with him. Philly with John Marks. We are back right after this. All right, let's talk about BetParx. Listen, Tyler won 7 in a row. BetParx Parlay of the day coming up later on the show. He had 7 in a row that he hit right there on the BetParx app. I hit a Schwarber bomb yesterday. Yep, Schwarber, home run, bam, that paid off. Didn't hit a second one, but that paid off. So listen, day off today, weekend set, Toronto in town. I'll be in the house on Saturday afternoon. The weather better be good. But you have the Pro Golf Open, the finals, NBA finals, Pro Hoops finals has been really good so far. Indiana takes the lead. Pro hockey, the Cup playoffs are here, and you can live bet it all. Watch and wager along, and the BetParx app. Live betting's just better. PA, New Jersey, and Maryland on the BetParx app. So listen, when you're talking about baseball, player props, home runs, hits, pitcher props, strikeouts, all those great things. And whether your favorite team wins or not, the app also has live dealer blackjack, roulette, craps, poker, baccarat, and hot online slots as well. New users also get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Go to betparx.com, download the app right now, enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino at your fingertips. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, or Maryland for the BetParx app. You love to play. You play to win. You bet. BetParx. Gambling problem. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. GLAT hair restoration. All right. Let me take a look. Looking good. Looking good. All right. So if you have hair loss, all stages of hair loss, and I've had people recently come up to me in the grocery store at a graduation party I was over the weekend, and he came up to me and he said, "I went to GLAT because of you. I had the TED treatment." Yeah, GLAT hair restoration. If you're experiencing hair loss, all stages of hair loss, you want to get hair restoration, bam. Experts in the industry, over 30 years of experience, but it's not just about restoration. It's about innovation. If you're balding, thinning, you're starting to lose your hair right now, get to it before it continues to recede. And then maybe you won't need hair restoration. Keep the hair that you have. You can do that with GLAT hair. The website's glathairmm.com, G-L-A-T hairmm.com. Lots of information, my before and after pictures. If you go to my social media, at John, Jon Marks, M-A-R-K-S media, at John Marks Media, go back to May of 2021, I believe. I documented the procedure, right? You saw what I looked like the day before, the day of, the day after, a week after. I documented, I took videos, and then take a look at the pictures that I have, just like recent ones. You can see what my hair looks like. I'm not touching up photos and putting them on Instagram. This is what my hair looks like, right? You can see it right now. GlatHairMM.com. Text or call them 610-980-4000, 610-980-4000. Hoo-ah. All right. Pacers win last night, 116-107, take a 2-1 series lead. The draft coming up soon. Some steam picking up towards that. And let's get to our ace, Keith Pompey, Philadelphia Inquirer, columnist, 76ers writer. Keith, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Good, man. I'm excited because the draft starts at 3 with the Sixers. Before we get to that, Daryl Morey's watching the NBA Finals right now. He's watching last night. What do you think what is his thinking when he's watching that series? What do you think Daryl is thinking when he's watching that?
Well, first of all, he's probably thinking like, man, I wish maybe we would have had Haliburton. That's one thing as a point guard. And the crazy part about that is it's one of those stories where when everything was active, people were writing that the 76ers were trying to pursue him. Sources confirmed it, things like that. They didn't want him at that time. He wasn't to the level he is now. But then years later, it comes out like, oh, no, they weren't interested in this guy. They weren't interested in him, but they were, put it this way. They weren't really put it this way. Sacramento was interested in Ben Simmons. The 76ers, they were focused on James Harden. That's what it was. So when you come to it, you look at him, but not only him, you look at TJ McConnell, you look at Isaiah Joe, so these are 3 guys who you look at and you say, wow, these are the type of guys you need to build a championship team.
So at the time, and you hit the nail on the head, Daryl Morey had the answers to the test in his back pocket. He knew that James Harden wanted to come play for him. Making that happen still needed to happen. But would you agree that if that wasn't the case, that he would have been looking at a guy like Haliburton? Because if he really wants James Harden, and we know the love affair that they had before everything went wrong that was here, was he really even considering anything else, knowing that Harden probably wanted to play here and he thought he could make that happen?
Well, when you talk to sources around the league back then, there was a little bit of frustration with the 76ers because teams were saying the 76ers kept pushing the goalpost back. So I felt like it was always Harden or bust. I mean, if we go back to it, even some of the Brooklyn Nets, like they were feeling like the 76ers were tampering a little bit, you know what I mean, with the Harden situation, so with that being said, I always felt like, it was always Harden or bust. I mean, even with, because, remember Tobias Harris had that contract and there was teams who were fearful of that contract, but then Tobias would be attached to a trade. You know what I mean? Teams were like, oh, we don't know if we want to do that, or what type of draft picks you would get. We always look back at hindsight and say you messed up. But at that same time, there were a lot of people who were bought in on the James Harden thing, even before Daryl Morey came on board. Everyone wanted James Harden. So, yeah, it was a tough thing. But looking back, you say, maybe not. I mean, heck, looking back, some people saying maybe they shouldn't have drafted Ben Simmons, but so it's always years later, people tend to change their mind.
What was and I remember you reported this. What was the trade package that was being discussed? Like, because you're right. It seemed like the Sixers were always going to make an offer that they know would be refused, like you said, moving the goalposts. But what was the trade package for Ben Simmons that they were discussing at the time?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. From at that particular time, it was one of those things where, and I'll be honest with you, I get tired of talking about this because it was so many years ago, and it just seems like we're just taking shots at the 76ers. But what it was is it was Haliburton, it was Buddy Hield, it was Harrison Barnes, and it was like 2 first-round picks, 2 future picks for it was Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, and Matisse. And then what happened is I was told that, the Sixers didn't want it. Then there was later on, there was some stuff about De'Aaron Fox, maybe let's get De'Aaron Fox, but the Sixers didn't want him either. So it got to a point where what that did is it kind of like disrupted the locker room a little bit, where guys were worrying about, and not the Sixers, but in Sacramento, like, yo, are we getting traded? And then they had to come out and be like, no. And, because they were upset. Like, they felt like this was something that they wanted to get it done. Let's hurry up and do it because we're not trying to lose our locker room. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And if I remember correctly, the Sixers said that Matisse Thybulle was untouchable or nearly untouchable because they thought he was like that next defensive stud. And then they traded him for a sack of potatoes. Yeah. Like very quickly, he fell out of favor the next year because he couldn't hit threes. So, all right. So let's move forward.
For example, swing at defense and missing it. Yeah.
Right. So perfect segue into the draft. Would you agree that the night that they got the third pick, the draft lottery, it's like, all right, Sixers got the third pick. The draft starts at 3. Most people were saying Ace Bailey. Paul George was saying Ace Bailey's the best player in the draft. And as we are right now, June 12th, it doesn't feel like they're drafting Ace Bailey to me. What is your feel for what the Sixers are going to do with 3?
I think the Sixers don't know what they want to do with 3 at this particular time. I mean, it seems to me, I feel like with you, because okay, so the stuff came out about VJ Edgecombe, about how much they like him being a gym rat and this and that. But again, they're going to do the same thing with Ace Bailey. And what I mean by that is he's going to come out, he's going to have his workout. He's going to sit down and he's going to meet with them, have dinner with them, and then they're going to reassess everything. To me, it just seems like it's one of those things where you look at Ace Bailey, he has the biggest upside of anyone, right? Like you guys were talking about beforehand, he can be a star. Right now, the other 2 guys, VJ Edgecombe, other guys, they may be more NBA ready than he is at this particular time for next season. But at the same time, do they have bigger upsides? And I don't think they do. With that being said, I think that we're going to see a lot of different things come out. Who knows? They could go the Edgecombe route. But at the same time, I believe that, when you're coming out with stuff like this and things are like this, you don't have your mind made up. And sometimes when names get leaked like that, a lot of times you're probably saying, if like, hey, this is the guy we're going to take, or we're considering taking. What might you be willing to give up to get him before somebody else takes him? You know, so I think there's a lot going on, but deep down, I don't think the Sixers know right now 100% what they're going to do, because they know how important getting this draft right is.
Got to get right. So Daryl Morey, would you agree he's on the hot seat right now, Keith? That next season he could be fired if things go south next year?
Yeah, I do. I agree with that. Yeah, definitely. Because, I mean, when you think of it, you know, we talk about the James Harden situation. That's one thing that didn't end well. We talk about the Paul George giving Joel Embiid that max money before max extension, supermax extension before it was time to, right? You know, all these moves have set the 76ers back. So to me, the one thing that you have to get right is this draft pick. And this is a vital draft pick for the 76ers because, you know, right now you look at the Tyrese Maxey saved the franchise by being a quality player, being an all-star player. Well, now you got to align him with somebody that you can have down the road as well. So these are important things for him, because let's just say if Joel Embiid is not to the level that the Sixers think he should be, Paul George, well, you want this draft pick to be the guy that can be next in line to be that superstar player, all-star player for you down the road. So yeah, this is he's on a hot seat, and this is a vital draft for Daryl Morey and the 76ers.
So if you're Josh Harris, don't you worry that Morey may be looking at it from, like you had said, Ace Bailey may not be the contributor that Edgecombe or some other players are this season. If Daryl Morey's general managing for his life, is he going to look at Ace Bailey and say, yeah, he's probably maybe towards the end of the season, he could be a bigger part of our rotation. He needs to win games this year. Now, like Keith, what's frustrating for me is it feels like to me that they're going to go through the motions this year. And if it doesn't work, that's when Morey gets fired and everything gets blown up. And that's where you may see Embiid, if they can trade him, Paul George, if they can trade him, where like the future could be bright, and it could be with this pick right here. So I have confidence that Morey knows how to navigate the waters and can draft the right players. He's had some really good drafts since he's been here, but there's also a lot going on with him where he's trying to save his job. And is he going to draft a player for the next guy that comes in? It's just, it's complicated. They're in a tough spot because Daryl Morey has essentially, his future was predicated on where the lottery ball fell and Joel Embiid's health. And he's got no control over Joel Embiid's health. It's tough.
Yeah, you're right. And that's the tough thing about this whole thing, because regardless of who they draft, like, I mean, you're not going to tell me that VJ Edgecombe is going to come in right now with and be the guy. You're not going to tell me that Ace Bailey is going to come in and be the guy, right? Even if Cooper Flagg came in here, it was kind of like the chain of command or the pecking order is still Embiid number one, then Maxey, then Paul George, right? So in order for that's not a knock at, the draft picks. It's just how it is. So no matter what you do and what you decide to do, the team is only going to go as far as Joel Embiid takes you. Seriously, that's it. I mean, Maxey has his best performances when Joel Embiid is healthy. Now, he'll score a lot of points and he'll do a lot of things, but I'm talking about like wins and losses is basically predicated on what Joel Embiid does. So Morey has to be, I get it, you're saying we're going to build for the future, but you got to make what you feel like is going to be the best thing for the 76ers. You are. And you're going to have to look at the upside and all these other things because, right now I get it. Everybody says that is all about when you got the number 3 pick, is all about the best player available, not fit. But if you're trying to win a championship, you can't have like 7 players playing the same position.
No, you can't. Yeah, you're right. And is Grimes coming back? Well, you know what? What do they do with 3, right? Like there's going to be dominoes that fall here based on what happens with this draft pick. No, you're right. You have 4 guards on your team. That's going to be a problem. They have some trade pieces too, maybe. if that's the case. So we will see. Last one, Keith. What do you hear about Joel Embiid, the health, where he is right now, what we can expect as far as training camp beginning of the season? What's the latest that you've heard on Embiid?
It's weird. I haven't really heard too much of anything. It's been kind of quiet with Joel. And Joel's one of those guys where he tries to keep things close to the vest, and the Sixers double down on whatever he wants them to do. The thing is, we do know that he's working out with the guy who performed the surgery, getting back in shape. And from what I hear is the expectation is that he is going to be, ready to go and everything like that once the season comes, right? But to me, we heard that before, and there's nothing against Joel and them, but I want to take a wait and see approach and see how it goes. See how once they get out there and practice or play preseason games or even the regular season game, before I determine like what level he's at. But for Joel did say that he wanted to rest up the knee and do a little rehab. And I think that's the things that they're doing right now.
Keith, great stuff, man. Follow him on Twitter, Pompey on Sixers, and make sure you read him in the Inquirer, Inquirer.com, and everything else. Keith, always appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me, my man.
All right, there he is, Keith Pompey. Really, really good stuff right there. We'll react to that coming up, and listen, a lot more coming up, including our BetParx Parlay of the day. Philly with John Marks. React right after this. Don't go anywhere. Back in 2-2. Let's do this. Let's spring into savings, everybody, because the low prices are blooming at Ashley. That's right. Up to 50% off living rooms, bedrooms, and dining rooms, and you can have it delivered all for free. We talk about this low interest financing. How about no interest financing? That's right. Long-term, no interest financing. Save on top brand mattresses as well. Free delivery, setup, and removal. But don't wait. Spring into savings now at Ashley, South Jersey, and Philly. Financing with approved credit. Minimum purchase required. Some exclusions may apply. See store for complete details. Hurry to Ashley. Visit ashleyfurniture.com for more information. All right, Empire Today. It's correct. If you need flooring, you need carpeting, whatever you need, Empire Today is where you want to go. They bring the showroom to your home, so you don't have to get the kids and get them out somewhere on a Saturday afternoon and you're not really focused on what's going on. No, they bring the showroom to your home. And you see all your options in your space with your lighting, with the color of your room, with your furniture, and they're taking precise measurements. So you know exactly what you're getting and what it's going to look like. And you're talking about all-inclusive upfront pricing. There's no pricing games, right? You're getting the best price, and you're getting it from Empire Today. And flooring experts. All they do is flooring, all right? So when you get the free in-home consultation, they come to your home. They show you everything. You're dealing with somebody that's all they do, so they know what they're talking about, right? And you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. How about $350 off? That's right. You see it right there on the screen if you're watching. $350 off. Just use the code PHLY. Go to EmpireToday.com/PHLY for full details. EmpireToday.com/PHLY for full details. You can schedule a free in-home estimate and everything else right there on the site. Hoo-ah! All right, we are back. Tyler Zuli, your reaction to Keith Pompey. I do know that there has been a lot of mouthpieces for the Sixers out there that have been saying that the Haliburton trade didn't really happen or wouldn't have happened. And, Keith even said, I'm tired of talking about it, 'cause he more or less doesn't want to keep ripping the 76ers. But the fact that you could have gotten rid of Tobias Harris, you could have traded Ben Simmons and gotten Haliburton, first-round draft picks, and other pieces really, really stings right now when you watch these finals and you look at what the Sixers have become.
Yeah, with the ability to view it in hindsight, right? 2020 hindsight for sure, it stings. You got a guy who's been an absolute just straight up dog in the postseason. Every big shot you've asked him to hit, he's pretty much hit. So yeah, it certainly stings, no doubt about it. I think at the time, personally, I remember doing these shit, not that exact show on the airwaves, but it was you've got to come with me you've got to come to me with something insane to move Ben Simmons, because I genuinely believe that at some point the Ben Simmons thing, the player that we expected, was going to take over. And I mean, clearly I was wrong, but like that was my expectation.
I thought he was shot, and here's the problem with it, that he clearly wasn't making any trade because he wanted James Harden.
Correct.
He was tied to James Harden. His career was tied to James Harden in Houston. The guys had a personal relationship. He considered James Harden one of the best basketball players, I think, ever, is what he said, one of the best scorers ever. And he wanted James Harden. The problem was it was short-lived, and then he was gone. What did they get for James Harden? But when they traded James, when he went to Los Angeles, I mean, pretty much nothing, right? So you actually had this chip, and now people look at Ben Simmons. They're like, well, Ben Simmons is cooked. At the time, like, Sacramento wanted to give first-round draft picks up and good players. So the league still viewed, at least some of the league, still viewed Ben Simmons as that player that we had hoped and we had saw glimpses, or we had saw him becoming. It's going to end up probably being what sunk him. Because James Harden, I mean, James Harden wasn't bad here, but getting nothing when you traded James Harden away means you essentially got nothing when you traded Ben Simmons.
When Ben Simmons was willing and able to attack the rim and get to the basket, Ben Simmons at times was an unguardable offensive player without the fact that with the fact that he couldn't shoot. Like, and not only couldn't shoot, refused to shoot. So like, you had a guy who was at the rim, around the rim, one of the more unguardable guards in the league, had handles like a guard, had a body like a big. Like, that was a guy that you expected to build around for years to come. Now, no one could have anticipated his unwillingness to play basketball after a certain time frame. But I think that at the time it made sense to go, yeah, we want the earth, moon, and stars for Ben Simmons. He was the number 1 overall pick. We took him there for a reason.
Yeah,
we want the earth, moon, and stars for him. And whether you think he's a point guard or he's actually a point forward type of player, I think that the reality was at the time, the Sixers weren't going to give him up without a crazy return.
And then they got James Harden. Yeah, it's not said enough, and you're right. He was a really good player before they said, let's foul him because he's afraid to take foul shots. He wasn't afraid to go into the lane. He wasn't a great dunker at the rim, but he would attack the rim. Right? He was great in transition on the fast break. The minute that they started fouling him to take foul shots, his career was over. It's unbelievable.
It was a psyche thing, no doubt.
Oh my God, man. It's crazy. But because I mean, like, I was never the Ben Simmons, like, he's an elite defender and the canned responses, but I still thought he was a good player. He made the All-Star team for a reason. And that was without a jump shot. And remember when he took that 1-3 and he made it, and the entire arena and the bench, like, more or less patronized them by like, whoa, he made a 3-pointer. Yep. And then Brett Brown was like, I want him taking a 3-pointer a game or whatever. And I don't think he's taken a 3-pointer since then. God, it's just like such a crazy, weird situation with Ben Simmons. Really is. All right, let's get to our BetParx Parlay of the day. All right, what do we got? All right, you started off.
I am going to the NHL tonight. Game 4 of the NHL Stanley Cup. First 2 were overtime games. Third one was a blowout. I'm going to take a player to record a point. I am going to go to Carter Verhaeghe at -175 to record a point tonight. He's recorded a point in 4 straight games. He's also 6 out of his last 8. And over his last 10 games, he's averaging 1.1 points per game played. He's got 5 in the first 3 games of the Stanley Cup playoffs. He's also taken 7 shots in the first 3 games, and he's on the ice for almost 22 minutes on average. So, like, he's around the puck and around the net quite a bit. I'm just looking for a chance here tonight. Could be an assist, could be a goal. I don't really care. I'm going to take Carter Verhaeghe at -175 to record a point tonight in Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals.
I like the Mets -230 on the money line today, and I won't give you much analysis on that, but they've been rolling as of late. Let's take a look at the NBA, the finals here. The Thunder are still -235 to win it. So still the favorite, but so let's see. Pacers to win the series and Haliburton as the MVP. What once was plus 10,100 is now plus 915. Damn it. If I just would have bet it, they'd be offering me a payout so I would get out from underneath it, which I probably wouldn't do right now. It's plus 915. It was plus 10,000. Holy Christ. That's crazy. What do you, have you changed your mind in the series, Tyler?
I still think Oklahoma City's going to win. But the Indiana has kept this way closer than I anticipated. And like we said, we talked about it yesterday, like 5.5 was an OKC line, and it felt like an OKC game for a while. And then Indiana just hung around just enough. And that's kind of what they've done. And then they took advantage in the fourth quarter. So I still think OKC wins this series. But obviously now it has to go 6, which I did not expect.
Oh man, that's crazy. Great series.
It has been. Yeah.
All right. What else do we have? A couple other things right here. So the Eagles, can we play? I had this, I didn't get to it yesterday, but I wanted to play it because we have the exciting mics that are on the air. So as much as you'll see, and I put this in Slack yesterday, Tyler, as much as you'll see Jalen Hurts still be disrespected, even after winning a Super Bowl, even after being the Super Bowl MVP, and I'm not talking about Chris Sims having him as the 10th best quarterback, because my head will explode if I try to get inside of Chris Sims' head or whatever he wants to do. But like, you still do hear disrespect on Jalen Hurts, which is they'll do but if they can't run the ball, can he still throw the ball to win it? Like, okay, well, if Pat Mahomes loses his entire offensive line and doesn't have wide receivers, can he win it, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. You need good players around you. But Nick Sirianni, I don't think he's given enough credit for what he has helped build in Philadelphia. And a national radio host, Ben Maller, and we played it on the show a couple of weeks ago, said, more or less said that, like, well, if Nick Sirianni doesn't have this talent, is he winning the Super Bowl? It's like, what NFL coach without talent's winning Super Bowls? It's literally one of the dumbest things that anybody can say as a way to try to deflect off of what Nick Sirianni has done with this team. The guys have bought in. And this is not just last year. This has been since he's taken over. Whatever he's doing, the message that he's sending, it's working. It's working. And the Eagles won a Super Bowl. They've been to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. Do we have it ready to go, Ty? So this is exciting mics. The guys are talking about, right, and you can watch that here right on PHLY. It's produced by us. You can just, like, they're talking about Sirianni. So Reed and Cooper are talking about Sirianni. Just play. Go ahead.
Coach Sirianni getting his contract extension and what that means.
That's huge
for our team and for the city, really.
That's huge. He comes to work every day for us. A different atmosphere. He wants that college type locker room.
That's what I love about it. Yeah.
It's always that open door policy too. I mean, it just goes far beyond him as a coach. Like, it's like X's and O's, man. You're trying to teach these young, they're still young guys, they're 21, 22-year-olds. I mean, you're 22.
Yeah. I think it's cool, like, how you can just go up to his office and, like, talk to him whenever you want, and him inviting us into his office and having conversations, what we could do better, like what he can do better and what we can do better as a football team to bring everybody closer together. That's the biggest thing about, why our team is so special. I think it's just our ability to connect, and that starts with him as a leader. So I think it's huge for our team.
There it is. A college atmosphere in the locker room. So, Tyler, figure that out with me. Because a college atmosphere in the locker room, normally if somebody would say that, you'd be like, all right, your NFL head coach has a college atmosphere. But when you think about it, so the NFL, especially of all the sports, of course you have Lane Johnson, you have older guys. The 2 guys right there, 22 years old. Reed can't be any more than 24, 25, right? Like, this team, you have the veteran guys, but you have a lot of young players in the NFL. Young, hungry, careers are shorter or whatever. And I mean, you got to watch how much of a college atmosphere. But I think what they're saying is you have this loose locker room that, guys are just coming in and they're playing football and they're having fun. And it feel like, and Nick Sirianni is kind of the leader of that. But it was interesting that they described it a college atmosphere.
Yeah, I think he allows them to be themselves. He allows them to be a little bit more free. It's what it seems like. But he also has an open door policy, it seems. So it's kind of one of those things where we're going to hold each other accountable and hold each other in check for the good and the bad. And I think that that's a good way to operate things. Like, I think any good boss has that kind of policy where they say, hey, listen, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire when you're not doing something right. But also come to me, talk to me when you think I'm not doing something right, or we're not as an organization doing something right. Like, have the ability to have open-ended conversations where you don't feel like, listen, I'm sure you've worked at places before where you felt like your voice didn't matter. I know that I have. Like, I felt like I could have screamed from the top of the mountain and it was like a mouse in a church,
right?
Type of thing where it didn't matter. Now, I feel like here at PHLY, we have a pretty good open line of communication where that makes me feel like a part of it, a valued employee and a valued human. So I think that, like, it could be said for any kind of professional industry. Like, these guys, yes, they are professional athletes. They make a lot of money. They're stars in their own right. But they have the ability to go talk to their boss and say, hey, boss, here's what I'm thinking. And then he goes, okay, here's what I'm thinking. And we hash it out type of thing. And instead of just it being a, throw the coach under the bus, throw the player under the bus, they have that open line of communication.
Yeah, I forget who it was, but what player it was. It was Pete McCain in the Phillies. And he had said, and I forget the player that it was about, but there was some stuff that was going on. And I remember Pete saying, my office door is always open.
Right.
And it's like, okay, your office door is always open. Are you inviting him to come in? Are you going out and putting your hand on his shoulder and say, hey, come here, I want to talk to you. And then close the door and develop, like, really what they're talking about is developing relationships, right? Like, you had talked about previous to this job compared to previous jobs or whatever. I could tell you that I've had two managers in my life, in my media life. I've had two managers, PHLY, Vince and Anthony, everybody's great. And I agree with you 100%. Like, this is, the culture here is very, very good. But I've also had where my last boss, Rod Lakin, like, you go through ups and downs personally, not professionally, of course, professionally, but personally, right? And just hearing like, hey, if you ever need to talk, come get me.
Sure.
Not about work. And Rod was like a big part of that. And I don't know if he really ever knew how much I appreciated that. Right. And that's, I've heard multiple players talk about, or in stories that have been printed about Nick Sirianni, about this relationship that Nick is always looking to have personal relationships with his players that go way beyond football. If Nick knows what's going on in your personal life and he's checking in like, hey, how's dad doing? I know he had surgery, right? Like, hey, how was surgery yesterday? The players are like, I didn't even realize he remembered any of that, right? Like, look at the exact opposite of that. Chip Kelly. You think Chip Kelly developed relationships with his players? Maybe the guys that he liked.
I'm not sure Chip Kelly knew everybody's on his roster's name, to be honest with you.
I'm not sure Chip Kelly was capable of doing that. Nick Sirianni is, and it's one of the big strengths is he unites everybody. The 3-point stuff, and let's if you're watching on TV, let's slide on over to PHLY.com because it's time for overtime. Hoo-ah. Yeah, so when you see the video out there of Nick, and they went and they had the 3-point contest and they were playing basketball and Cooper DeJean's dunking it and everything else. And they're competing against everybody. And I forget who was working the PA, and Nick's out there shooting threes. We know how competitive he is. Like, that's how you have a close team. That's how you bring, like, you know what? We could go out there today and we could run around without pads and we could throw the ball around and we could do drills, or we could lift weights, or we could go play basketball and we could have a 3-point shooting contest. Let's break everybody up into groups. Those are the things that Nick Sirianni, it's smart. It is. Jeff Lurie talks about emotional intelligence. It's smart. And it's something that Nick does not get enough credit for. So anyway, all right, Tyler, what do you got coming up today with with PHLY. You have a video on demand. Today's Thursday.
So I thought we'd do something a little bit different. So today is the anniversary of the opening of the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. So we're gonna play around with that a little bit and maybe do something. Maybe put together the best roster ever. See how good of a team we can put together.
You might have some tough decisions to make there.
I think there are going to be some tough decisions.
With the best roster ever. Everybody have a great day. Remember, subscribe, like. Coming up on Wednesday the 18th, we're going to have a 12-hour streamathon right here on PHLY. That's next Wednesday. Stay tuned for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. Anthony is live right now. Remember, rate and review. Go to wherever you get your podcast. Listen to the podcast. Give a 5-star review. Say some nice words about us. Comment on our episode. Let us know what you think. And we're back tomorrow live at 8 a.m. Flip on over to Anthony. He's live right now. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.